Hello, my name's Sully, and I'm going to show you a candid look at the 2018 hemp growing season for Lazarus Naturals Farm and a few other endeavors in the hemp industry that you might not be aware of. The U.S. has been spending millions of dollars every year importing hemp products which we could be growing within our states. From soap to foods, beverage, health aids and supplements, textiles, building materials, and even biofuels are just some of the examples that we can be using hemp for. And I found it rather serendipitous to connect through a Craigslist ad to Lazarus Naturals Hemp Farm and CBD products. It's if a wish were granted, and just as the 2018 season was springing up, I found myself a plant team tech for the company. Our immediate goal was to have roughly 200,000 8-inch tall plants of about 11 cultivars ready to transplant by the end of May. And this was a massive effort by a hell of a team to get the farm functional before planting season, and movement was going on every day. It was amazing to watch the never-ending tasks get done. Greenhouses were built, we seeded outside, waiting for the new nurseries to be finished just in time for the sprouts to be safe from frigid temperatures and rampant field mice. Irrigation lines were trenched and the fields were prepared as best as possible. By early June, we were planting our starts in a field that may not have seen hemp since the early 1900s. Starting a new industry in the U.S. is a little daunting. You have to work out all the fine details of building a functioning infrastructure to find seed stock, farm the crop, rough process the material, ship it, fine process it, ship it, manufacture some goods, and then sell it without the fear that the federales are going to show up and shut you down. It's been near impossible without the recent passing of the historical 2018 Farm Bill.
Hemp can even be used to create a building block with a natural plaster that goes over it, weatherproofing it from all the elements. You can even build an entire house of hemp.
Here I am standing in front of the Highland Hemp House in Bellingham, Washington, a home and rebuilding project to Pam Bosch, in which this home is cast completely in hemp-crete, a unique and sustainable carbon-sequestering concrete alternative. And while this is an age-old building practice, Americans have been suckered, self included, into a housing construction debacle that is anything but sustainable, or of general good quality, which is long-lasting. And in 2018, you'd be very hard-pressed to find a competent hemp-crete contractor in America. Hempitecture founder Maddie Mead saw this building opportunity arising back around 2015, and soon became a licensed hemp-crete contractor. And I was lucky enough to meet him and the Hempitecture crew on site and deep into reconstruction in Bellingham. Since I'm pretty skilled with hand and power tools, he agreed to let me work with the Hempitecture crew for about 3 weeks in late May and in June. It was awesome. The team of Maddie, Tommy, Max, Cody, and Pam were a blast to work with and to troubleshoot a lot of interesting problems that arose during the hempcrete casting. It was a day-to-day practice in methods that were tried and optimized, while new and modified tools found their places in practice. If you'd like to know more about this project and what it looks like completed, please visit the Highland Hemp House and the Hempitecture websites. While I was working at the Highland Hemp House, I happened to meet with another entrepreneur, Evan Boucher, who was engineering the munch machine, the mother bucker and the double buckers. These were machines that stripped the flower from the stalk in a very efficient manner while preserving the flower integrity at the highest quality. Evan offered me an opportunity to work with his munch crew up in Toppenish, Washington, producing the machines for a couple of weeks before harvest was to take place on the farm. Back on the farm, we had plenty of plant drama to keep things interesting. There's always an irrigation challenge or 5 to deal with. We could have a flooded ditch, or just 20 yards away, a bone-dry and irrigated section in the field that had a damaged line. Because we had sourced genetics from multiple suppliers to get enough plants to fill our fields, there were always some that were just outright not good. Weak genetics or non-feminized seeds were planted regardless, only to be found out inferior in quality months later. Here you can see a number of plant issues that we came across in our fields. These express plant traits of health variables that were onset from their environment, genetics, nutrient usage, and abuse from tractors. Invasive weed populations throughout our fields were another huge constant problem we had to deal with in various ways. From hand weeding to weed whacking to dragging a harrow with a small tractor through our fields, we tried to keep them at bay as best as possible. And in the end, we will still plan on seeing many more popping up next year. In 2018, we also eradicated a lot of our own hemp plants. Because we were farming specifically for cannabidiol, we only wanted female, unpollinated plants for harvest. This would ensure that the plants would pump out maximum amounts of cannabinoid oils from the resin glands, yielding the most potent CBD from our harvest. Our hope was that with many of the early flowering varieties that we still had planted, we would be harvesting our fields in stages starting mid-September. As with all things farming hemp in the U.S., there has not been any best tried and true processes being implemented across the country. We had hoped to use a combine implement from France, which would cut the plant at the base of its stalk, grab the plant by the stalk, and transport the plant across the back of the machine and into an awaiting trailer. That didn't last much more than 250 feet. In the end, it took the very arduous task of hand lopping each plant at the base, falling it to the ground, and then coming back through, loading all the plants on the trailers to be taken to our drying facility, where we would hang dry all the plants from the rafters. The upside is that more hemp farmers coming online and growing more acres each year is that hemp implements and better machines are coming out each season to facilitate these needs. I am very interested in the many types of processing equipment being developed. The munch machines lived up to their word in stripping the flower from the stalk very efficiently, but we just had way too much flower to deal with and way too many plants hanging from the rafters that needed to be bucked down yesterday. In the end, we found that a combine implement that was custom modified and brought to our farm worked the best. What can we expect for 2019 farming hemp in Central Oregon? I don't know, but we got a lot of work ahead of us and a great team to get started.